We all know what Yochanan or John 3:16 says, how that Yahweh so loved the world that he gave his only first brought forth son, his only begotten son. What we don't really think about is, why did Yeshua agree to this? This is Barry Phillips with 10 Minute Torah, day 3 of Emor, to speak softly with gentleness. Let's go to Leviticus, Vayikra chapter 22, and read the first 2 verses. And Yahweh spoke to Moshe, saying, Speak to Aaron and his sons, that they separate themselves in the set-apart offerings of the children of Israel, and that they do not profane my set-apart name in what they set apart to me. I am Yahweh. I'm going to take a little side trail here on this text today. What follows here after these initial verses through much of the first half of this chapter are instructions from Yah about how that the set-apart offerings, specifically the offerings that are brought home, this would be the peace offerings, the Shelamim or Zevakim offerings, whereby a priest who presents such an offering on the altar receives a significant portion back from the meat, and he consumes it as well as those in his house. So he takes dinner home, in a manner of speaking. What follows again are the instructions as to who within his household is able to eat it. And so if there is some ritual uncleanness, for example, perhaps his wife is in the time of her monthly flow, she's not to eat of it. If there is some bodily uncleanness of some sort, an oozing sore or something of that nature, then one is not permitted to eat it. Provided that they are ritually clean, they may consume the offering. To profane it is to cause the entire offering to become unacceptable. So when an offering is placed on the altar, it is to be received with great understanding of sanctity and set apartness. It's not a trivial or casual, a common thing. This is set apart, and it must be treated set apart because it's attached to the divine presence of the set-apart altar. Okay. That being said, the priest works and receives a benefit, a measure back. This idea got me to thinking here, what did Yeshua gain from his work on the cross on our behalf, being nailed to the tree? We know what we benefited. We have received redemption, and we've been bought back from our sins. Our elder brother has acted as the Goel, kinsman redeemer. He's redeemed us from the sin price. He has restored us. He has reconciled us. He's made a way back for the lost sheep of the house of Israel to return. He's created a blood covenant. On and on the list can go as to our benefit. But the priest brought this home because he was benefited from what he had presented at the altar. Yeshua has presented himself as the Lamb, and he has presented his own blood, Hebrews says, at the altar. So why? Well, in the book of Hebrews, again, chapter 12, it says this, verse 1 and 2. We too then, having so great a cloud of witnesses all around us, let us lay aside every weight and the sin which so easily entangles us. Let us run with endurance the race that is set before us. Now verse 2 says, looking to the Prince and Perfecter of our belief, Yeshua. Now catch this line. Who for the joy that was set before him endured the stake, having despised the shame, and sat down on the right hand of the throne of Elohim. Yeshua, for the joy that was set before him, overlooked or went against the idea of shame, being nailed to a stake, and endured it instead. What joy! There was no joy in the act itself, so it had to come afterward. What was the benefit that Yeshua would have received, typified by the priest receiving a benefit from the altar? What did Yeshua receive? This puzzles me. And maybe you got some better answers than what I came up with. But let's go back a bit to the book of Yochanan, or John, chapter number 17. And verse 1 and following says, Yeshua said these words and lifted up his eyes to the heaven and said, Father, the hour has come. Esteem or glorify your Son, so that your Son also might esteem you. You've given him authority over all flesh, that he should give everlasting life to whom you have given him. This is everlasting life, that they should know you, the only true Elohim, and Yeshua Messiah, whom you have sent. I've esteemed you on the earth, having accomplished the work you have given me that I should do. And now esteem me with yourself, Father, with the esteem I had with you before the world was. Yeshua, in laying down the esteem, as Philippians 2 describes, he laid aside the divinity role of himself and took on human flesh to become a servant among us. Yet he now is saying, let me recover the esteem that I once had with you when I do this work. Perhaps there was this great joy in accomplishing the mission of redeeming his own people, acting out the Father's commanded role of being the deliverer, all the way back in Genesis or Bereshit 3:15. How that he fulfilled the Father's desire and then was to receive esteem of the Father again from him. I'm going to have to think on that one for a while. That's going to take some chewing. But then we also go to the book of Revelation, chapter number 11. Verse number 15 says, And the seventh messenger sounded, and there came to be loud voices in the heavens, saying, The reign of this world has become the reign of our Master and of his Messiah, and he shall reign forever and ever. That verse gives me a bit more understanding that Yeshua did what he did for the joy that was set before him, to receive again the esteem of the Father, not just momentarily as he enters triumphantly into the heavenlies, but that it accomplished this mission. It enabled him to now take the kingdom, to receive the kingdom. If we go back a few pages in Revelation, I believe to chapter number 6, and I'm going to turn and just verify that, but I believe that it says there in that chapter that the Lamb loosens the seals, and that's when it loosens the first seals. In chapter number 5, it says that the Lamb has prevailed and that he will loosen the seals. So Yeshua is able then, as the Lamb that was slain, to loosen the seals of the title deed of the earth and to open up all the process by which the kingdom becomes his. So for the joy of the kingdom and the restoration of all things. So when you and I if we make a sacrifice, if we make a giving of ourselves, let it be for the joy that is set before us as well. Not moaning, groaning, and crying about whatever the temporary discomfort or inconvenience might be, even pain, but for the joy that is set before us. let us endure and persevere. And let us come back together tomorrow. We'll see you then. Until then, shalom.